Good evening, and thank you very much. I've been asked to speak on the opportunities and challenges that await students when they leave Stellenbosch University, particularly relating to my own personal experiences. And I'd like to say, before I start, thank you very much to Lwando, Ewan, SRC for 2018, the Rectorate, Professor Wim de Villiers. Thank you very much for having me. I'm going to take a slightly different slant on this, if you'll permit me. I hope this will be okay with you guys. There are 5 things that I want to leave with you tonight, and I'd like to take us through it. The first is to be aware of what drives us. And I had an interesting conversation today with Ewan and Lwando, and I just realized, this came to the fore again. In the marketplace, there are different things that can drive us. There's a desire for recognition, for success, to climb the corporate ladder, or the desire to live out our purpose. I would like to think that purpose is different from the previous examples. When purpose is defined as aspiring to do something that is bigger than ourselves. I would like to think that purpose, living a life of purpose, is usually not about ourselves. It is about living beyond ourselves. Recognition, success, and promotion are great, but should it not rather be the products of purpose than purpose itself? Seeking after recognition and promotion can cause us to deviate from our purpose or become our purpose. When we are driven by purpose, our definition of success changes. As success then is not merely about ourselves, but it's more about who we want to become rather than what we want to achieve. On leaving Stellenbosch University, it is important in our careers and jobs to work towards living out our purpose. In living out our purpose and our life beyond ourselves, we discover a few things. 1, connectedness, which is building relationships with diversity of people. 2, humility, which is less about us. 3, groundedness, which is realizing that we are privileged. And 4, realness, which is being who we are. Our biggest challenge when we enter the marketplace is not to get sucked into the hamster on the wheel. More promotions, bigger salaries, bigger offices, bigger clients, bigger cars. But okay, relax. I'm not saying that's not important too. But it should not be at the expense of our purpose. Should these things not be a byproduct of living a life of purpose? Should we choose to allow purpose to define our lives and live for something bigger than ourselves, rather than merely recognition and achievements? Let me share a story that will illustrate the idea of purpose. When I was young, I was very rebellious. I was a rebellious teenager. I was a tough kid to be a parent for. During these very rebellious times, I spent a lot of time with my grandmother. And one day, while spending time with her, she shared the story with me. My grand starts by saying that she was, at a particular point in time, she was seeing someone and she was madly in love. But she was constantly aware that she wanted to do something with her life. She knew that she wanted to serve the community. The career that she felt called to was midwifery. So for those who don't know, back in the days, these were our gynecologists. These were the people that helped deliver babies. She decided that this is what she wanted to do. She wanted to study midwifery. But to study midwifery, it meant that she had to be placed at a hospital to learn the skill. As it turned out, this placement would take her away from home. She shares this with a friend since they are now in a very serious relationship. And his response to her is this: please stay. Please stay and marry me. And then there's this awkward silence. And then my grandmother turns to me and says, there is a calling on every woman's life. There is a calling on every person's life. And that calling cannot be settled cheaply. On that day, she was to leave. This young man then arrives on her doorstep. He had come to greet, and in his hand he had a gift. It was a singles LP, just for us who don't know, that's not CDs. It was a singles LP of Nat King Cole. And the song was, Stay as Sweet as You Are. My grandmother eventually qualified as a midwife and married my grandfather, not the same young man. But Nat King Cole seemed to play in the background consistently. She then served the community of Boekap in delivering babies. When my mom visits this community of Boekap, where my grand nursed, she is known as nurse's daughter. I'm referred to as nurse's granddaughter. We are not recognized on our names. I am recognized through my grandmother. The conclusion to the story is this: decisions regarding purpose are not always easy. It is not that my gran did not love that young man, but she knew that she would be unhappy if she did not fulfill her purpose. Secondly, our legacy is in living out our purpose. 3 generations later, my grandmother is still honored for living out her purpose to serve the community, as the community recognizes her through me. So let's pause and think and challenge ourselves. What drives us? Why do we exist? And what is our purpose? It is not always easy, but hopefully the journey is rewarding. I want to stop and pause here. Luanda, Ewan, SRC 2018. Thank you for living out your purpose as student leaders. It came sometimes at personal cost, I'm aware. But I want you to know that we are so proud of you. Your achievement, you guys are absolutely inspiring. Thank you. The second point that I want to speak about, it's okay to change your mind. So maybe you're thinking, I don't think I want to use what I've studied. I know some academics don't want to hear that. Or maybe you have done an internship and you're thinking, this is not what I thought it would be. I went through this journey when I was at university after SRC. After being exposed to so many things during my time at university, including SRC, I realized that what I studied no longer interested me. I kept asking myself, do I really want to spend the rest of my life in a lab? This is not what I pictured for myself. I want you to know that this is okay, because of what use is to have a mind if you cannot change it? Secondly, who at the age of 18 is absolutely sure what they want to do for the rest of their lives? Part of growing and developing is figuring out the journey as we go along. And sometimes it means changing direction. The crisis of not being sure of whether I wanted to use my degree got my parents really nervous. Okay, maybe they weren't nervous, more like going off the deep end. And after one of our emotional discussions on the matter, I remember my parents nervously asking, are you saying that this degree that you have studied for so hard and for so long to achieve, you don't want to use it? I have a PhD in polymer chemistry, but I work as a management consultant in areas of leadership, transformation, change, and reconciliation. My first job was as a scientist at an arms manufacturer. My job, simply put, was to make the rockets fly further. Although I knew that this was not what I wanted to do, I worked hard to improve my skills and develop myself so that I could eventually navigate myself to a place where I wanted to be. There are a few times in my career where I realized that the transition was not going to be smooth. I realized that for me to change direction, I had to get off the bus that I was currently on so that I could get onto another bus going in the direction that I needed to go. At times, I had to resign from a job without a job lined up. Other times, I took jobs that barely paid enough to cover my expenses because I knew that the experience and the skills gained would be beneficial for me in the future and because I enjoyed it. Besides the incidences where I received phone calls from SARS demanding money that I did not have because I was unemployed, every part of the journey was growing, enjoyable, and at times painful. but the focus was always on developing myself and my skills. This meant volunteering my time to do things that would eventually equip me for starting my own consultancy. There will be difficult times and sometimes difficult decisions, but it is important to be where you think you need to be or moving towards where you need to be. If you are where you need to be, then you can handle the tough times. However, it is important not to make decisions at your whim. Radical decisions such as changing careers or closing the door on your field of study should not be taken lightly, emotionally, or irresponsibly. There must be a plan. My advice to students always is that before you close the door on your field of study, is to first get some exposure in the field. Work in the field for 2 years so that you know that you're closing the door on. I've learned from my mentor, Michiel, that you can make anything a success and profitable when you enjoy what you do. I've also learned that even when graduates change their minds to pursue something different to what they've studied, having a degree opens the doors that otherwise would have been closed. Not completing, here I sound like my parents. Not completing your degree is therefore not an option. It is important to complete, even if you would decide that you do not want to use it. To sum up, what I'm trying to say is, it is okay to change your mind. It happens more often than we think. Probably why I'm spending some time discussing this. Changing our mind does not make us a failure. It just means that we've grown and developed away from something that we initially thought would interest us. Doing something that you're happy doing for the rest of your life, doing something that you're unhappy doing for the rest of your life, seems senseless, but the decision remains ours. Change is not sometimes easy, and it has consequences. So don't do it irresponsibly, flippantly, or without careful consideration. The third point that I want to talk about is, let's not forget where we come from. It is important that we do not forget where we come from. We are not individuals of our own success. All of us here this evening are not here on our own. We represent communities. These communities are our family, our friends, our neighbors, our mentors, our supporters, our carers, and so forth. Even the auntie that gave me a hiding. And this is what community is about. Our egos might want to convince us that we are products of our own success. But this is not the case, because it takes a community to raise a child. It takes a community to help navigate a path from the Cape Flats to Stellenbosch. It takes a community to support one through one's studies. It takes a community to assist with career choices. It takes a community of wisdom with the journey of life. We, as we sit here today, as we are present here today, we represent communities. Communities that have paved the way for us. Communities that have invested in us. Communities that have made sacrifices so that we can go further than they have gone. Communities where their lives have been a springboard for ours. Tonight, we need to remember our success is their success. Our celebration is their celebration. We are because of them. As we celebrate tonight and celebrate our achievements, let us take time to acknowledge the people that got us here. And when we leave Stellenbosch University, let us not forget that others have paved the way for our success. And if possible, let us show gratitude. I remember when I was elected to the position of chairperson of the SRC, there was so much support that I received, especially from the workers at the university, our staff. And one woman came to me and gave me a gift. And she said that she was so proud of me. And the gift was wrapped in a cloth. And when I later opened it, I realized that the cloth was those calico cleaning cloths. And inside, as I opened up the gift, was an apple. It is probably one of the most precious gifts that I've received. And the reason being is because I realized that she was giving all that she had. This is community. It's the unknown and the known faces that are supporting us. Let's remember why we're here. The fourth point I'd like to talk about is be willing to learn. Some of us may think that because we have a degree, we know everything. Some of us may think, but how can people expect a graduate to volunteer their skills for free? Some of us may think that we are too educated for a job offered that falls well beneath us. Some of us may think that others, such as our parents, are too old and outdated to teach us anything. Some of us may think that the inability of a person to use a smartphone is enough to disqualify them from being able to teach us anything. Some of us may think, what can an uneducated and illiterate person teach us? The answer, how about life? We are not nearly as good as we think we are. We need to be careful that we do not become arrogant. As graduates, we also need to be careful that we don't become elitist. To be successful in life, it is important to not only have friends that are all graduates and from the same socioeconomic group as we are. We will be appointed to jobs where we will lead and manage people. How do we reach, motivate, or lead others when we cannot relate to the needs of others because we have become elitist? It is important to learn and develop. Our friendship group is a reflection of either our ability or inability to learn from a diversity of people. It is important to submit ourselves to learn from a diversity of people through a mentorship relationship, which is not only our friends. Being mentored is an indication of our willingness to learn. A good mentorship consists of relationships rather than just the mentor relationship, where we submit ourselves to learn from someone. It consists of 1, a mentor relationship where we learn from someone. 2, a mentee relationship where we teach someone. And 3, a peer relationship where we are challenged by a peer or friend. Mentorship relationships are about learning, growing, developing, refining, and honing our skills, and the realization that we need help and that others can help. Mentorship requires us to ask for help, which is good for keeping us grounded. Not knowing and asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It shows that we have a healthy perspective of what we don't know. Being teachable is the key to success, because the recipe is a simple one. Stand on the shoulders of giants if you want to go further. There are people that have lived a life of purpose, made a meaningful contribution, and are successful. Why not be teachable and learn from the giants in the field that interest us? Lastly, we have a responsibility. 60% of those who entered grade 1 wrote matric. Only 12% of South Africans have some form of post-secondary qualification. We, as students in higher education, represent 12% of the South African population. Irrespective of how we grew up, whether in Constantia, the township, or the Cape Flats, we need to recognize that we are privileged. We represent 12% of the South African in higher education. What I want to leave you with is this: with privilege comes responsibility. We have a role to play. We have a responsibility. In conclusion, my mentor once said to me, don't worry about the other person, or the economy, or the politics of the country. Keep the focus on yourself. Develop and learn where you can. Volunteer yourself to upgrade your skills. Do what you need to do. He did not say that the journey would be easy, but he hoped that it would be rewarding. I think what he was trying to say is this: although the economic climate may be challenging, we remain the creators of our own destiny. And when the time is right, then we will be ready. Lwanda, Ewan, and the SRC of 2018, I guess what I'm trying to say tonight is that the opportunities and challenges that await us beyond Stellenbosch University is ourselves. Thank you for this opportunity to challenge me, challenge us, challenge ourselves. Thank you.